What's up, everybody? I just finished another book in the Shivers series. This is Shreik Chicago. For those of you who don't know, this is actually a sequel to Terror on Troll Mountain, a book that I read in maybe, I think, June or possibly July. No, it had to been June. I think I finished it in June. That book was alright. I didn't think it was like terrible or anything, but it took forever for anything to actually like happen. But I thought it was kind of like a charming slow build. This one, for some reason, when I first started on it, I was like, this is not going to be good. Like, I just assumed this was going to be not a great book. And I was like 30 pages in, and not much was going on. But it did pick up, and it got wild. This is one of the more random books in the series. Um, but yeah, a little background on this book too. I had this a long time ago when I first discovered Shivers. I remember finding this book at an auction, and I'm not sure exactly what I did with it. I'm not sure if I ended up selling it because I wasn't really reading Shivers at the time. I didn't have a lot of room. This was when I lived with my parents and things like that. So 90s Kid Library, I told him this is the last one I needed, and yeah, he ended up getting, or the last rare one that I needed, and I couldn't find it anywhere online. But he found, I think, paid like $10 for it, really cheap. But yeah, so yeah, let's kind of get into the story a little bit. The story starts off with Paul. He is asleep. He wakes up and he goes to his closet and he sees these troll feet at the bottom of his closet, and he thinks that he sees the orca, which is the monster from the last book. He wakes up, turns out to be a dream. So in the last book, I'm not going to give too much away for that, but they ran into this thing called the orca, which is this hairy troll beast and stuff. So I'm not going to talk much about that yet because we learn a little bit more about them. We do get a background of them. Really cool stuff. So yeah, the actual story starts, and they end up going to the airport to pick up his cousin Anthony. Anthony was the character in the book from the last one that helped him survive the attack of the orca, and I'm not going to really give away much on that, like how they survived or anything. But Anthony comes in, and he's kind of standoffish. He doesn't really want to talk that much, and Paul's kind of weirded out about it because they were pretty good friends in the last book. That's his cousin. They're really close and all. Um, and Anthony ends up telling him that he thinks the orca didn't die in the last book. He thinks that he's around, and Paul is like, why? He says that he hears like footsteps when he's by himself. He smells the orca. The orca puts off this weird smell to him, and all of that. So yeah, a little bit later on in the book, they end up seeing this thing where this kid named Jimmy, he sees this thing like a Bigfoot thing on the news. So the kids go out there to go see what's going on. Paul, of course, doesn't believe any of this at first because he was there and something happened to the orca that was like, okay, like there's no way he got up from that. But they meet this kid named Jimmy. He's at a park, and he points to where he's seen the orca. They go exploring. Not much happens there. They don't find anything or anything like that. So it does kind of meander a little bit. Nothing too crazy happens. They do have like a little bit of a prank thing. There's a scene where a poodle falls on them, and it's like an old lady's poodle, and this other guy the Jimmy guy runs off. So yeah, they go back home, and they're Anthony gets up and he talks about like we need to find out what's going on. Long story short, they end up going into the kitchen, and this is where the book kind of gets a little random. The orca pops up. He's like in the kitchen, and he tells them to make him a sandwich. I'm like, okay, like I swore this was a dream. It wasn't. This was actually the real deal. He was in there, and the orca isn't described as looking like this thing. Really, he's got sharp teeth and he's very hairy. That looks more um like a monster or something. While we're at it, we'll look at this cool cover art. I really enjoyed a night sky and this monster driving a taxi cab. That doesn't happen in the book. They do get in a taxi cab, but yeah. So yeah, where was I? They end up in the kitchen, and this orca is making them make sandwiches. And while I was reading this, I was like, okay, this is gonna be really stupid. But no, it gets better. So the dad comes in, or the mom, or somebody, and they're like, what's going on here? They end up making a mess, and they're like, the orca's alive. He's making us make sandwiches. The parents don't see him, and he takes off and leaves. and he leaves like in front of the parents. So they're like, can they not see him? So they decide to go to their aunt. Their aunt is this lady who's supposed to be like some kind of witch. They go to the aunt and they end up talking to her about what's going on, and they tell her about the orca, and she says that she believes him because she actually ran into him as a kid, and she explains that back like a long time ago when she was a kid, they had to wash their clothes like at a creek, and she seen this big hairy monster. He came up to her and she threw soapy water in his face and she escaped. So she tells them basically, stay in the public eye. Don't get, away from your parents, where he can't get you or anything like that because he is dangerous, you know. And she was like, there's no reason for me to tell your parents because they're not going to believe me. And they're like, yeah, we know. So, of course, on the next that same chapter, the parents end up saying that they're going to leave to go out of town. The mom is like a ballerina instructor. The dad, I don't remember exactly what he does, but he ends up leaving. So they end up leaving, and yeah, they're by themselves. So they're like, okay, we got to stay in people's view. So they end up going to the museum where there's like a lot of people. They end up like exploring. They go to this thing. It's like a cave uh museum part. I think it's like with dinosaurs and it's something like a cavemen. I can't remember. Anyway, the orca pops up. He grabs the kids and he goes into the cave. He like tells them, he's gonna kill them and all that. It's really graphic, but this is nothing. So they go. He takes them and he goes under this like secret trap door thing, and he tells them, he's gonna cook them and eat them and all this stuff. He ends up knocking out Anthony, and Paul has this lighter in his or matches in his pocket, and under the ground there's like these like different like chemical solutions that make stuff burn and stuff like that, very flammable stuff. So he lights the bottom of the basement of this place on fire. So Paul escapes, and the monster says, I'm gonna come back, whatever. So he climbs upstairs, and when he escapes, this is where I was like, okay, this book is like just crazy. He gets out, there's a cop waiting on him, and he says, you're under arrest for arson. And he points a gun to the kid's face, and I was like, okay, all right, what? All right. So he points a gun to this kid. He says, you're under arrest, and Paul fights back. He hits the cop with his foot. He like stomps on him and takes off running. So he decides he needs to try to find out where this monster went, and he does. It's in another tower. I can't remember exactly what tower it is, but it's a very popular place in Chicago. Takes off, and he finds him in his lair, and he's like preparing to cook Anthony. He's got like these boilers going. He's got some sauce getting ready, and meanwhile he starts talking to Paul, and Paul is like, okay, we'll keep the criminal talking. That way he'll kind of give us more time. And he starts talking, and he basically tells everybody like that, or them two, what he was before he became an orca. And the story is actually pretty entertaining. He was basically a human. He was a pirate, and he was very ruthless. He killed people. He was a womanizer. It actually says that. I was like, okay, but he was a killer. He was a robber, womanizer, whatever. And he got paranoid that people were going to come and kill him. So he found this map or something where there's this fountain of youth, where if he drinks the water from there, he'll become immortal. But it's like a pure water, it's very pure. So he goes and he thinks that his fellow shipmates are gonna kill him, so he ends up killing them first, and he actually says that he like slits their throats, which is insane, to read in this. But Shivers, should be expected of that. But yeah, he ends up killing the uh people and his shipmates. And when he drinks the water, it like burns. He like unpurifies the water, and then these rocks fall from a cliff above, and he wakes up and he's the orca. And somehow or another, I don't know how he discovers this, but in order to survive, he has to eat something innocent within like 24 hours before midnight. And yeah, that's where I'm gonna leave it. I'm not gonna talk too much more about that. But yeah, this book started off pretty slow, and I was not really looking forward to it that much, mainly because the last book took forever to get started. But when this book started getting interesting, it got interesting. The writing wasn't good. That's first and foremost. I actually kind of struggle on some of the pages where I was like, but I'm not. Shivers is okay. It's very simply written. It's not terribly. Well, I mean, it is terribly written, but like not in a way that where you don't completely understand not what's going on. I mean, I did. But yeah, you had to kind of look above that. But yeah. So this isn't like a perfect piece of literature or anything like that, but it is really good. I enjoyed the second half of this book so much. I thought it was really fun. Very graphic. There's scenes where he like holds up the orca holds up Paul by his ankles, and he like takes a knife and puts it to his like ankle or something like that, and he talks about like he like swings a sword on top of him, and it's actually pretty scary. Yeah, I think if I would have read this at the right age of Goosebumps, like despite this goofy cover, this dude is pretty terrifying, for a kid's book. But yeah, Shreik Home Chicago, I'd easily give it like a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was really fun. Um, it's definitely not perfect in a sense that the pacing is good or anything. The pacing is all over the place because it starts off kind of slow and then it kind of builds up and it just gets kind of random. I mean, I felt like I know that M.D. Spencer had some ghostwriters. Not sure exactly how many were ghost written. I'm not sure if he wrote all of like most of them or anything like. I'm not even 100% sure if they were ghost written. I'm pretty sure some of them were. Um, but yeah, whoever wrote this was having fun. The Orca story was really cool. I don't know if that's actually based on anything. I'm gonna look it up later. I didn't look it up before here. But yeah, Shriek Home Chicago, I'd easily give it like a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was really good, really fun. I do recommend it if you can run across this book cheap enough. The Shivers books, even though they're rare, they're not super expensive. I did pay a lot for one called The Ghostly Playmate and Camp Fear. Camp Fear was terrible. Ghostly Playmate was one of my favorite reads of this year. This one, isn't like one of my favorite reads of the year, but it is really good. I do think it's an above average Shivers book. Um, but yeah, I think that's it. I don't really know of anything else I need to talk about on this. Oh, I guess we'll talk about what this thing looks like. I don't think I did already. Maybe I did, but he's described as looking like a caveman. He looks nothing like this. He's got hair all over the place. He's got sharp teeth, so the teeth is probably accurate. But yeah, I think that's it. Shriek Home Chicago, 4 out of 5 stars for me. Please let me know in the comments below. What did you think about this book if you managed to read it? What's another Wild Shivers book? I really need to know. Because I don't want to read like a bunch of duds. I know there's some bad ones out there I haven't gotten to yet. But yeah, this one is pretty good. 4 out of 5 stars for me. I think that's it for me, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.